The person you can't forget was never meant to stay. Have you ever met someone who completely changed your life, only to discover that no matter how much you loved them, no matter how hard you tried, and no matter how deeply you believed it was a twin flame connection that was meant to be, the relationship simply refused to become what you hoped it would be? Maybe you still think about them long after they left, wonder what could have been, or perhaps you've done everything you can to move forward. Yet somehow this person still occupies a space in your heart and mind that no one else seems able to reach. I know that feeling because I've been there myself. For a long time, I believed that the intensity of a connection automatically meant it was my twin, and it took me much longer than I would like to admit to understand they weren't. That some of the people who change your life are not always the people who are meant to stay in it. If that sounds familiar, then this video may answer questions you've been carrying for a very long time. Today, we're going to explore why a false twin flame connection feels impossible to forget, why certain people have the power to change your life forever, and why some relationships enter your life not to stay, but to teach you something you could not have learned any other way. And before we begin, if you enjoy content about personal growth, meaningful relationships, spirituality, and twin flames, make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel, because your story might help someone else who is going through the same journey. False or true twin? Before we go any further, it's important to understand one thing. A false and a true twin flame can feel incredibly similar in the beginning. Both can trigger deep emotions, powerful attraction, intense synchronicities, and the feeling that you've finally met someone who understands you on a deeper level. The difference often becomes visible over time. A false twin tends to pull your focus toward the connection itself. You become consumed by the relationship, the uncertainty, and the hope that things will eventually become what you imagined. A true twin flame journey may challenge you just as deeply, but instead of losing your identity, you strengthen it. Instead of abandoning your needs, you learn to honor and heal them. While all is about your growth, you are meant for something bigger in reunion. As we continue through this video, you'll begin to see why that difference matters so much. The mistake you might be making. One of the biggest mistakes people make after a false twin flame connection is believing that intensity means destiny. When someone enters your life at exactly the right moment and awakens feelings you haven't experienced in years, it's easy to believe they must be the person you've been waiting for. The connection feels too powerful, too meaningful, and too perfectly timed to be anything else. But that is where the mistake often begins. We assume that because something feels extraordinary, it must be meant to last. We mistake intensity for alignment and attraction for compatibility. Sooner or later, something feels missing. Deep down, you sense that what you truly need is still not there, yet you keep hoping it will eventually arrive. That is what makes this experience so confusing. The connection feels like the answer, while in reality it may be asking a question. Are you willing to become who you truly are? Even if it means letting go of what you thought you wanted? Why it's so hard to let go? What makes a false twin flame so difficult to release is that the connection touches far more than your heart. It touches your identity, your dreams, your hopes for the future, and sometimes even your understanding of love itself. That is why losing the connection can feel like losing a part of yourself. Often, you are not only grieving the person. You are grieving the future you imagined, that the possibilities you believed would eventually unfold, and the life you thought was waiting for you. That is why these connections can remain in your heart long after they have stopped growing. You keep hoping something will change, that the connection will eventually become what you always believed it could be. But there comes a moment when you have to ask yourself a difficult question. Are you holding on to the reality of the connection, or to the potential you once imagined? What makes this journey so powerful is that while your attention remains fixed on the false twin, life is focused on you. What feels like heartbreak may actually be revealing old wounds, fears, and patterns that are ready to heal. Because sometimes the greatest pain does not come from letting go. It comes from holding on to something that is no longer helping you grow. A personal realization. One of the reasons I feel comfortable talking about this subject is because I haven't lived through it once, but twice. Over the years, I met two people I would describe as false twin flames, and both experiences changed me profoundly. The first entered my life during a trip where everything seemed to align perfectly. From the moment we met, there was an undeniable pull between us. In fact, after only 15 minutes, I remember thanking her for coming into this lifetime too. The attraction was so overwhelming that I woke up beside her the very next morning. At the time, it felt like the universe had placed the perfect person directly on my path. Looking back, I can see things I couldn't see then. She had many narcissistic traits, but I was completely blinded by what I believed the relationship was. I wasn't only falling in love with her. I was falling in love with an illusion that seemed to contain everything I thought I wanted. She had a beautiful home, stability, direction, and a life that appeared complete. For the first time, I felt I didn't have to fight my way through life or carve out my own path. All I had to do was step into hers. At the time, it felt like the greatest gift the universe could have given me. Only much later did I realize that while I thought I had found everything, I was slowly losing an important part of who I really was. Years later, a second person entered my life and brought me face to face with an entirely different challenge. What made this experience so difficult was that she touched every wound I still carried. For the first time in my life, I didn't run from those parts of myself. I faced them. I worked through them. I allowed myself to feel pain I had avoided for years, and in many ways she became the catalyst for some of the deepest healing I have ever experienced. That is what made the confusion so intense. Because while the inner work felt real, the dynamic between us often felt strangely familiar. The way she treated me, the inconsistency, the imbalance, and the feeling that I was the one carrying the connection forward, reminded me more and more of the first experience. Yet because so much growth was happening inside me, I kept questioning everything. Even today, I cannot honestly tell you with complete certainty whether she is a true twin flame or not. Some days I think I know the answer. Other days, doubt finds its way back in. What I do know is that letting go of her has been one of the most painful things I have ever had to do. It has forced me to find a balance between unconditional love and healthy detachment, between being there with an open heart and accepting that I must continue walking my own path. And that, perhaps more than anything else, is why I wanted to share this story. Everything I've spoken about in this video comes from direct experience. The confusion between a false twin and a true twin. And if this journey has taught me anything, it is that sometimes the greatest lessons arrive disguised as the very thing we believe we cannot live without. The question that changes everything. At some point on this journey, a question begins to emerge that changes everything. What if this person entered my life not to complete me, but to reveal something within me that needed attention? The moment you begin asking that question, your perspective starts to shift. Instead of focusing entirely on the other person, you begin examining what the connection has been showing you about yourself. Perhaps it revealed wounds you didn't know were still there. Perhaps it exposed fears of abandonment, patterns of attachment, or a tendency to seek validation outside yourself. Maybe it showed you how often you've compromised your own needs in order to hold on to someone you were afraid to lose. The answers will be different for everyone. But the question itself has the power to transform the entire experience. Because once you stop asking why the connection didn't work out and start asking what it came to teach you, the healing truly begins. The hidden purpose behind the heartbreak. If you look back at the moment this person entered your life, there's a good chance you were going through a period of change, uncertainty, heartbreak, or personal transformation. That may be one of the reasons the connection felt so powerful from the very beginning. The attraction made you feel alive again and reawaken parts of yourself that had been dormant for a long time. For a while, it felt as though everything was finally falling into place. But with time, I began to see something I couldn't see, while I was still caught up in the experience. The purpose of a false twin flame is often not to become your future. The purpose is to bring you back to yourself. Sometimes we become so focused on another person that we lose sight of our own path. A false twin has a way of exposing that. Not by completing you, but by showing you where you've been searching for completion in the wrong place. Looking back, what felt like heartbreak may actually have been a redirection. The connection may not have become what you hoped it would be, but it may have helped you become who you were always meant to be. Returning to yourself. There comes a moment on every healing journey when the focus begins to shift. Instead of asking why the false twin left, you begin asking what their presence taught you. Instead of searching for answers outside yourself, you begin listening to the wisdom that already exists within you. One of the biggest misconceptions about letting go is believing that it starts when you stop loving someone. In reality, it often begins when you stop waiting for clarity, for closure, and for a different outcome. You begin accepting the connection for what it was, rather than what you hoped it would become. Real healing begins when you stop feeding the fantasy and start accepting the reality of the relationship exactly as it is. You stop searching for signs that they will return. Stop looking for hidden meanings in every interaction. And stop placing your future on hold while waiting for another person to choose you. That is often when your energy returns. Your future is no longer dependent on someone else's choices, but on the choices you make for yourself. The more you bring your attention back to your own life, your own goals, and your own growth, the weaker the attachment becomes. Because what you're truly releasing is not always the person themselves. Often, you're releasing the emotional dependence that developed around the connection. And the moment you stop chasing the outcome is often the moment you begin reclaiming your power. What this journey was really about. So if there is someone you still think about every day, someone whose memory continues to follow you long after the relationship itself has faded, I want you to remember that not every person who enters your life is meant to stay forever, but have the potential to change you big time. The greatest act of growth is learning to appreciate the lesson, honor the experience, let go, cut the energetic cords, and keep moving forward without needing the story to end differently than it did. Because sometimes the very thing that breaks your heart is also the thing that leads you back to yourself. Maybe the reason this false twin entered your life was never to teach you how deeply you could love them. Maybe they came to teach you how deeply you need to love yourself. To show you the wounds that still needed healing, the boundaries that needed strengthening, and the version of yourself that was waiting to emerge. One day, you may look back and realize that what felt like the end was actually a beginning. That the connection wasn't happening to you, but for you. That while you believed you were losing someone, you were actually finding yourself. And if this video helped you see your experience from a different perspective, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content on the twin flame journey. Every week, I also share an astrological forecast for twin flame energy to help you better understand the energies around them and navigate your path with greater clarity. Until next time, so much love and thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, trust the journey, and remember, sometimes the person who changes your life forever isn't the one who stays. It's the one who helps you become who you were always meant to be.